Hello, everybody, and welcome. Happy International Women's Day and happy National Careers Week. We've got a lot to celebrate today. Thank you for joining us at Founders for Schools and Maths for Girls, where this is the fourth event today where we've had a range of amazing speakers sharing their insights into their jobs, all involving maths and STEM subjects, sharing what that job is and how they got there. And this is our final session. We've got three brilliant speakers here joining us from a range of companies, including Tate and Lyle, who are very kindly sponsoring this day for us today. So thank you. We have disabled the microphones and cameras for you, but please do use the chat function. We'd love to say hi to you, so please pop in the chat where you're joining us from and do ask all of your questions and we'll put them to the speakers. You'll see some polls coming up in the chat as well. Please do answer them so we know what you're thinking, how we can improve. This session's being recorded. It will be on our YouTube channel as well, and we'll be posting about it on our social media. So without any further delay, I'm going to hand over to our speakers, and we're going to start with Bennika. Hello, welcome. Happy International Women's Day and National Careers Week.
Thank you for the introduction. Hi, everyone. My name is Bennika, and I'm very excited to be here with you today on this wonderful day when we are celebrating International Women's Day and as well National Career Week. So I'm very happy to have been invited, and it's great to be able to have the opportunity to talk a little bit with you about my journey and my digital career as a data engineer. So I will tell you that when I was your age, I had no clue that I will be an engineer when I'm 25. So during my childhood years, I had a very unrealistic dream of what I'll do. My mom tells me that I used to tell everyone that I'll be a doctor during morning hours, an architect during afternoon hours, and then in my free time I'll go win an Olympic medal, which is very unrealistic for a 3-year-old. But I was seeing the sky as my limit, so I wanted to do everything. Well, later on in school, I was focusing in becoming an architect, following my father's path, and I was very happy to learn that they apply math on a daily basis in their designs and in their process thinking. So I followed that path and I chose to go into high school on a mathematics and informatics profile. And I stumbled on my first academic challenge when I was 16. Despite the fact that I liked math, my teacher didn't like me. And one thing led to another, and he failed me on the subject. So I was very conflicted as a 16-year-old. How did I manage to fail the subject that I liked the most in school? So I took time to obviously spend the summer studying and retook the exam, and sparing you the details, I passed and continued my studies. So then later on, when I was preparing for my university admission exam, I was preparing for the architecture, and while doing the assignments, I realized that that is not actually what I like to do because I haven't tried it before, and you never know if you actually like something if you don't start doing it, even if it's like an experience day or just talking with someone more about it. So until I actually started doing it, I didn't know that I didn't like the process behind it. So I shifted my attention to hospitality management, which was on the opposite direction. I wanted to travel for work, and I thought that's the way to do it. So I went to university to study business administration, and I've had a various area of subjects in regards of mathematics, statistics, finance, economic studies, and more about management and human resources. We learned everything there. And after I finished my studies, I went to work for Forces in Hampshire here in UK, and I spent 3 years doing various roles until I realized that I want to do something more because as I initially thought, I was thinking that I will apply my mathematical skills in management and administration, but that was not the case. So I've had a very serious conversation with myself, and I was asking myself, what sparks joy and passion for me? And I went back to what I was the most passionate about, into statistics, mathematics, and information technology. And ironically, these were the subjects that I excelled in university, but I didn't pay attention to that. And my friend recently told me that she was shocked that I didn't pursue this after university, but I've had to try it on my own. I had to go into hospitality, realize that this is a fun environment, but it is not what I wanted to do. So in 2020, I enrolled in a lot of online courses for data science and analytics, and I learned to program in Python, how I learned to build prediction models and continue to explore digital skills. So after a considerable time of studying and preparing myself, I was hired as a data engineer in 2021. So what the data engineer does is basically it works in a variety of settings to build systems that collect, manage, and convert raw data into usable information for data scientists and business analysts to interpret. So the ultimate goal is to make data accessible to organizations so they can improve their performance. So it's quite a lot of combination of skills in regards of analytical, statistical, mathematical skills, and as well digital. And I'm very happy to have had this journey because it gave me a lot of exposure in regards of different sectors and different industries. And I hope this story inspires you to go out there, try it out, fail, and learn from your experiences, because this is how you find what truly sparks your passion. And don't overthink it. Just explore your passions, explore your hobbies, and there is no straight path into doing what it will be your dream job. And don't let movies fool you into a perfect job that doesn't exist. What fits you is best for you, not what other person does. So find that inner why and passion, and you'll do great.
That's amazing. Thank you. Thank you for sharing so much information about your journey from being a youngster wanting to that Olympic medal and being a doctor and an architect and following what you think you're going to study through to where you are now. And a data architect sounds absolutely amazing. So to summarize, you said that you design ways to take raw data and information to be able to give it to people in a usable way so they
Yes.
can make decisions. Is that kind of right? Yeah. Okay, brilliant. Thank you so much. I'm going to move on to Rupaul now, please, to tell us what your job is, what that involves, and how you got there.
So happy International Women's Day. So I am Rupaul Batavia and I work for Tate & Lyle, and I work in reporting and analytics. So first of all, what did Tate & Lyle do, right? So apparently we're sponsoring your event. So you probably recognize Tate & Lyle in your sugar packets at home. You see the logo, you can see the picture here. And most people think that we manufacture sugar. We did, but we actually sold that business off in 2010. And now we actually focus on creating ingredients for a lot of our customers. And a lot of these ingredients are in products that you probably know and eat every day. So, for example, M&Ms, Mars, we all love our chocolate. We also have ingredients in protein bars, milk products, a variety of different products that people probably don't really relate Tate & Lyle to. And so what do I do at Tate & Lyle? So I work in reporting and analytics. So what does that mean? So what I do is I help the business to get the data that they need to run the business. So for example, if you remember when I first started my job, I remember we used to take days to produce reports. So there were teams of people that spent days, manually creating reports. Now with technology, social media, people like just to refresh their phone and they want a report. They want data. They want results instantly, right? So we all know how Instagram works. You refresh, you get live feed. And people have now got that expectation in their daily life that data and how you're performing in a business, you don't have to wait days for it, right? It's given instant. And that's kind of what got me into passion of this role. It's always keeping in touch with new technology and what is out there, right? And you're always keeping in touch with, the likes of Apple, Google, Amazon, and seeing what they're producing in the new tech world. So I'm just going to go on to how I got there on my journey. So like Bennika, when I was younger, I had no idea what I was going to do. You always talk about being a doctor, a lawyer, all these kind of roles. And I ended up not really having much of an idea. And so at university, I studied business economics because I thought it was quite a generic education, generic degree, and it could take me to various paths. And so I was lucky that in my university degree, we had a 1 year where you could do a placement year. So you could choose a company and apply and work and get work experience before you graduated. So I worked at IBM, and that taught me sort of what it meant in the working world and how to kind of build relationships with different stakeholders. I then finished university, and like my friends, I wasn't ready to start a job straight away. So I decided I needed some time out. I went traveling for about a year. So I traveled around the world, and it kind of gave me a lot of skills that were outside of the workplace. So it definitely rounded me as an individual. It definitely built on my confidence levels. I met so many people of different ages, and naturally you talk about what they do, what they're interested in, and it really kind of gave me a bit more motivation for where I wanted to go. I then came back from my traveling, and I got myself a graduate job at Unilever. So Unilever produce lots of different products. So they produce soaps, ice creams, lots of different stuff. And there I fell into a finance role, and I was required to do an accountancy qualification. So I thought, I'm not sure if I want to do it, but I think for my first job, I'm going to try it out and see how it goes. So I ended up doing my accountancy qualification. After my accountancy qualification, I think I realized that I wasn't really sure whether finance 100% was my thing. So I decided to move to a company called Capgemini, and they work in consulting. What that means is you go and do different kind of, you do a couple of months at different companies, helping them with their finance function. So whether you're improving processes, and although I was still in finance, it wasn't sort of just sitting there and doing accounts. I was talking to loads of people in the organization, and they'd tell me things like it took them 10 days to produce something, and I'd look at their process and say, right, how can we make that process better? And I quite enjoyed that because it was more about talking to people and really actually just talking to people and stating the obvious back to them, but something that they might not have thought of. After consulting, I moved on to a job more where I wanted to land, which was in reporting and new technologies. And that was at Marks and Spencer. And there I really kind of fell into my ideal job, where I realized I actually was really interested in new technologies and how new technologies can be implemented in the workplace. And then I started working on projects, which is where my passion really sort of shone through. And I enjoyed sort of working with implementing new technologies into finance. And that's kind of, I realized I like that whole fast-paced project. And I don't like doing one thing for too long. I like to move on. And that's when I landed what I'm doing right now at Tate & Lyle. And at Tate & Lyle, although I went in as finance, I then moved into the IT function. And that really resonated with me more because it's all about digital technologies and moving completely away from just finance, but looking at, finance, marketing, HR, across all the different areas in a company, and mainly focusing on their technology and how I can help improve processes and get better data out for them. And I have to say, moving from finance to IT was quite a big change for me. It's quite a big cultural change, because there's definitely less women in IT, I found, when I moved. And I did initially find that a struggle, because in finance, all my colleagues, so many were women, it was very diverse. Whereas I did feel like IT was quite a male-dominated industry, especially at Tate & Lyle. So it took me a while to find my feet. And over the years, there's definitely been more women, especially in senior positions into the workplace. That's definitely been a good thing to see. So finally, I just want to touch on the skills that I think that are quite important to build a digital career. So the first one is communication. You may not be, a mathematician, finance might not be your expertise, but if you can communicate well with someone and you can take time and listen to their problems, it's really going to help you understand and deliver something that they're actually looking for. So the next thing is technical knowledge. So what I mean by technical knowledge is understanding the piece of technology. And that can you might not have worked with that technology. That just comes from, taking time out to read about it. Might be, sometimes I end up on Google because I don't know the technology, so I might just be Googling things. And over time and experience, you build that technical knowledge. Problem solving, and that comes with, listening and communicating, and that can help your problem solving skills. The key one is always curiosity. There's never a dumb question in working life, right? And even though I've been in a career for over 10 years, it is always important to get those questions out, because you can't help unless you don't understand, what the actual problem and the need is. Next is project management. So remaining organized, your documentation. And these are some of the things that we learn at school, taking minutes, how to summarize different topics. And the final one is analytical. So, this comes a bit back down to numbers and sort of kind of, getting into the detail. So I hope that helps. And obviously, if you've got any questions at the end, please feel free to ask.
That is fantastic. Thank you so much. I bet when you were at school, you didn't know that this kind of job existed.
No, definitely not. And that's the thing, right? You never think, no one tells you that there's a career in digital. It's always maths, science, and things like that. So that's why it's not so, you don't need to necessarily study at university what you're going to end up with in your job with.
Yeah, I loved that slide showing the whole skills and attributes that are needed. Thank you for that. We'll come back to you with some questions. Sure. And Shawneen, can you join us, please? Shawneen's joining us from the trading floor, if she's available and still here.
Yep. Can you guys see me okay?
We can't see you now. I can hear you though.
My camera, let me try that one again. Let's see.
Thank you for joining us.
Pleasure. It's absolutely fantastic to be here. So thank you very much for the invite. So I would like to start, first of all, with a quote, and I think it very much applies to my kind of career journey. And it is, don't let what you can't do stop you from doing what you can do. So I'll be the first person to kind of hold up my hand and say that I didn't find maths that easy when I was at school. I really had to apply myself and I really had to work hard to do it. So I think if I asked my math teacher if she could see me in the job that I'm doing right now, she probably might laugh at me, to be honest. So my career, I am an executive director and I head up the securities lending trading desk here in CIBC, which is a Canadian investment bank. To kind of keep it a little bit simple, I deal with equities. So your stocks trade on the stock exchange, like Apple, like Google, Microsoft, Vodafone, etc. So kind of the names that you would recognize. And these are all companies that are publicly traded. And my kind of job is to make sure that I, on behalf of my clients, we're kind of buying these equities low and selling high. And that's how I kind of make, we call it profit and loss. So kind of the aim of my game is to make as much profit as possible and as little loss as possible. So in my role, mathematics is obviously very important because you have to kind of calculate the trade, you have to calculate the cost of the trade, you have to work out how much money that you can either stand to lose or stand to make. We also have to kind of come up with budgets each year. So we sit down with management and they kind of give you a number of what you have to hit each year. So we have to try and make that much money. You have to do presentations to management with financial kind of analysis to sort of show them how on track you are, behind track, things like that. You have to obviously do budgeting. You have to kind of work out how many people you'll need in your team and what your kind of the resources that you need to ask for to be able to make your kind of your desired P&L for that year. So yeah, lots of skills that I've had to kind of learn. We rely heavily on Excel, on programs. We do a little bit of kind of like programming to things like that. Did I always want to work in an investment bank? Yes, I did. Did I know what I wanted to do in an investment bank? No, I did not. But I did know that I wanted to work with clients. I like a change in environment where things are always happening. So obviously with everything in the news at the moment, because of the Ukraine and Russia crisis, obviously the markets are up and down every day. So we are actively reading the news, we're chatting to our clients, we're looking at the kind of the markets. So that those kind of news events change our job on a daily basis. So I find that quite interesting that I'm not doing the same thing every day and that there is that little bit of challenge within my role. So for A levels, when I was back in school many years ago, I knew I wanted sort of to get into business of some sort. So I studied business studies, economics, accounts, and IT. So I remember my teachers kind of going at the time, they're all quite similar, but I put up a real big fight and I was like, no, these are the subjects I'm interested in and I know my career is going to kind of revolve around this. So they let me go ahead and study those. Ended up in university and I studied business management. And that was a 4-year course. And then I left university and I decided to come to London to find my fortune. Yeah, then I just got an internship with Lehman Brother. So if anyone knows about Lehman, I had just kind of joined the organization when this was in 2008. This was when all the kind of the markets crashed, etc. And Lehman Brothers then went under. So I lived kind of through a takeover, which I had only learned about in university. So then to come out of university and to see this firsthand was quite interesting. So I've lived through some sort of turbulent market conditions. My jobs have changed. I've kind of adapted. I've rolled with the changes, and I still really love it. I work with a great bunch of people. We have good fun. The work is tough, but it's very rewarding. And kind of like as a result, I've worked in London for the last kind of 14 years, but I've had stints in New York and I've had stints out in Hong Kong with my previous companies too. So the fact I get to travel was a real kind of advantage. So whatever your career is, so I kind of want to stress to you guys is that, and however good you are at maths, or if you were like me who kind of was very, didn't have much confidence in kind of my skills, I would say to you that it is an important kind of skill to have in life. And I would really try and take it as far as you can, because whatever sort of career you end up doing or whatever you want to do, maths is there for life skills for the rest of your life. So for example, I bought a house. I want to understand how much interest payments, so what I have to pay back each month in my mortgage. Mathematics helps me calculate that. I go on nice holidays. Obviously these guys have different currencies, so I have to work out, well, how much is my pound worth in these different countries. So to have that ability to be able to convert money. Now granted, there's a lot of apps and you've got your phone these days to help you with that, but it's also good when you're kind of like on the fly and thinking about it, then you'll know whether you're getting a good deal or not. What else did I kind of put down? Budgeting. So when you go to university or even in life, you're going to have so much money, but you have to budget. So you've got your rent to pay for, you've got food, electricity, which we all know is kind of rising at the moment with the markets. So again, this is a great tool to have later on in life where you can work out how much you can budget, how much you can save. And then a big thing for me is obviously we all get older and we all have to think about when we stop working and we have to think about our pensions, etc. And now now young people, which I think is fantastic, are investing at such a younger age. So it's very good to have these skills to work out, you know, if I put my money, if I start to save now, when I do get to, and you guys probably, you know, aren't even thinking about that age yet, but you will eventually, trust me, because I'm starting to know too. You have to then think about how much money you have to have saved to be able to enjoy your life and things like that. So, you know, as whether you love your mathematics and you want to go and be engineers and architects and everything like that, or whether you're a bit like me who's a bit intimidated by maths, stick with it, because these life skills, when I hope maybe in like 20, 30 years time, you'd be like, I remember there was an old woman was telling me one time about how important it is to save and to think and have this as a life skill. So I think that's massively important. And I would definitely like these things, you know, show me a rhombus and I wouldn't be able to tell you what it is these days. I know, you know, an octagon, 8 sides, and that's probably as much as I remember about my shapes, etc. But definitely these life skills that I have picked up from mathematics, and they've really, really helped me. And I think as more younger people get independent, and you want to have your own houses, you want to, you know, go on your nice holidays, drive your nice cars, etc. These are the kind of the skills that will help you kind of budget for stuff like that. So that would be my advice. But definitely I've got a lot more confident. And in one of the questions it kind of said about some of the things that you can do to improve your maths if it's not your strongest subject. So a big craze at the moment obviously is Wordle, which I'm addicted to, but there's also like Nerdle at the moment. So it helps you work out like maths equation, and there's a little sum each day. I sign up to apps to kind of like stretch my mathematical skills, you know, that kind of, you know, your calculations, you're adding up quickly on the spot without having to use my fingers and toes. So, you know, those kind of things I do to try and keep my maths, you know, kind of like at the best I can do. So yeah, that would be my kind of advice to people, and that's been my kind of journey so far with mathematics.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you so much. And we've heard 3 very different stories there, but all with a similarity that you pursued your passion and what you enjoyed, and you found a career that you're really happy with. And what I'm hearing as well is that there's so much exciting technology. It's changing all the time, so everybody's learning. But what is needed as well is those human skills, the people skills as well. So a brilliant combination of both. Well, thank you everybody for joining us today on International Women's Day and National Careers Week. This session has been recorded and will be on our YouTube channel as soon as we can. Please do let us know via the polls, or drop us a line about your opinions on your onward career and your career education. We love to hear from you. And finally, a huge thank you to our speakers for joining us today and sharing their insights. And thank you everybody at home or at school for celebrating International Women's Day and National Careers Week with us.